So how much does it actually cost to live in Thailand? As a digital nomad or as somebody who's living in Thailand, working the dream, living from home, living the dream, working from home, no matter where you are in the world, things are going to fluctuate. And we're going to cover things like rent, food, electricity, internet, transport, and maybe a couple of others as well. When it comes to rent, just like all other places in the world, you have a very base cost of apartments or rooms. You can rent a condo for about 8,000, 7,000, 20,000, 30,000. It really depends on how much you want to spend. But here in Bangkok, I've seen apartments go for 5, 6, 7,000 baht on the outskirts of the city. If you're in the center of the city, then you're going to pay somewhere 15, 16, 20, 30, 40,000 baht. And then of course there's, the upper echelons of costs when it comes to renting apartments. And apartments come with just the basic essentials. Rooms are small at 5,000, 6,000 baht. You got basically one bedroom, a bathroom, and that's pretty much it. One thing that's really nice though is if you're renting in Thailand, your apartment is furnished. It's a pretty decent place. So if there's space for a sofa, they'll give you a sofa. There might even be a dinner table so that you can have meals with your girlfriend or significant other. Furniture in the bedroom is included. The microwave might be included, depends on the apartment. Fridge generally is included. Washing machine, however, depends on the landlord. There aren't any ovens. There's almost zero baking going on. So if you do want to bake a bread or make a cupcake, then you've got to go buy that from outside. The first day I got to Thailand, I actually had an omelette on rice called kai tiao, and that was 20 baht, and the coffee from 7-Eleven, which was 40 baht. So for 60 baht, which is around $2, you're gonna get a pretty filling meal. When you're buying street food, when you're buying local food, can be really cheap. Now the other flip side of that is if you go to fancy restaurants, especially foreign-owned restaurants like Jamie Oliver or some of these more established brands, Hooters, etc., you're gonna obviously pay a lot more money for that. In terms of cost of living, you've got a budget based on what you think you are going to need, and I would say that prices are fairly average. Obviously things are slightly cheaper here, but on average it really depends on what your cost of living and what your lifestyle is like. Let's talk about coffee. Buy a cup of coffee on the street. If it's a cold cup of coffee or a hot cup of coffee, then you're gonna probably pay about 2 baht, which is less than $1. And then if you go to a 7-Eleven, which is kind of the upper market type of coffees that you're gonna buy here, you're gonna pay something like 80, 90, 100, 120 baht for a cup of coffee. Alright, what about internet? Now, as a work from home person, you want to have a fixed line, you want to have fiber, or you want to have something a little bit more stable. And so, you're gonna run yourself probably 300 baht, 500 baht, 800 baht. I pay around 800 baht for a 500/500 megabyte line, which is insanely cheap in my opinion, and is pretty reliable. When it comes to cell phone costs and your internet usage on your cell phone, that's gonna change a little bit depending on what type of plan you have. Now, getting a contract here is actually pretty straightforward. As a foreigner, you go with your passport to maybe True or AIS or one of these service providers. They jot down your details, you sign the document. I've got a pay-as-you-go card, so basically it's a card that has a contract, but there's no phone or anything associated. But I have to top up every month. For 1 gigabyte of data, I'm paying something like 300 baht, there or thereabout. You may know that iPhones generally consume a lot of data, and so if you're not somebody like me who manages the data that well, then you're probably going to top up every day with like a gigabyte. Electricity, depending on where you live, electricity, I pay somewhere around 1,000 to 2,000 baht depending on the usage. I'm using my air conditioner most of the time. I don't do much cooking, so I can't really factor the cooking. It's mostly the air conditioner and maybe the computers that are, using a lot of electricity. Alright, let's talk about transport. Now, when it comes to transport in Thailand, there are a couple of different forms of transport. And obviously, depending on where you live in the city, your transport costs might change a little bit. If you go on a motorbike taxi, which is usually for short distances, maybe 5 kilometers, less than 5 kilometers. And as a foreigner, we tend to pay a little bit higher. They give us slightly higher rates. Maybe a local would pay 10 baht, we would pay 20 baht. Now you may think that's double, but 20 baht is less than $1. When it comes to taxis, you can use the Grab app. Grab is actually the major corporation, a major company in terms of transport. It works very similar to Uber. For about a 15-kilometer trip, you're gonna pay around 150, maybe 200 baht, depending on traffic and depending on how much time you're sitting in the taxi. When it comes to transportation via train, if you're living in an area that's close to the BTS or any of the train stations, you can get yourself a Rabbit adult card, which can be used on BTS lines. It works very similar to the Oyster in the UK. And so yeah, you basically just top up whenever you need to. Again, the cost varies depending on where you're going. You can get yourself a driver's license. If you have an international driver's license, then you can use that and drive. Obviously cars are all right-hand drive. I haven't purchased a car. I haven't needed to purchase a car because the public transport systems are so good. But if you do want to buy a car, probably better off buying car cash, because leasing it through a bank might be a little bit tricky if you don't have a credit rating and you haven't built up your account with a minimum amount to qualify for credit. You could also buy yourself a motorbike, which is maybe a scooter or a Harley Davidson or whatever. Again, costs will vary. You will need a motorbike driver's license. And so what people are recommending is that when you go for your driver's test, you get the car driver's test and also apply for a motorbike driver's test. And that serves both purposes. So if you want to buy a vehicle, you can buy a vehicle. If you want to buy a motorbike, you can buy a motorcycle. When it comes to transportation, and if you want to leave the country with the vehicle, your vehicle has got to be paid up in full. If you owe money to the bank, they will not allow you to cross the border. The cost of your visa is going to change, and it may not affect you at all, because if you are employed and your company is actually sponsoring your visa, then you don't generally have to worry about that. You just have to make sure that your paperwork is in order. They will basically take care of the rest. Generally, on a 1-year visa, you're going to need to leave the country at the end of the year, get your visa from outside of the country, and then come back in. Thankfully, because of COVID, we haven't had to do that, but I'm guessing most probably next year we might have to. Here, delivery costs are really, really cheap. So if you want to send a parcel, or you want to send an envelope, or you want to send a box, there are various forms of transport. They've got Carry Express, they've got the post office, 7-Eleven, which is express delivery as well. And so there are various forms of transportation. Obviously DHL and UPS and all of these companies also exist here, FedEx included. Generally sending stuff around, you can even order a Grab, which is a Grab taxi. He'll come to your place, take your parcel from you, and drive it to wherever it needs to go immediately. When it comes to moving apartments, maybe you want to move from one area to another area because it was too noisy, like I did. You can check out this video here. There's an app called Deliveries. For me, when I moved from Payatai to Sukhumvit, I paid something like 600 or 700 baht to actually move all my stuff, and within a couple hours it was done. They don't pack your stuff for you. You've got to make sure you pack everything, which I think is just good sense. You know, pickup trucks are fairly common here. You see them all the time. Usually there's a Thai friend who knows a Thai friend who has a vehicle that's available. One of the other things that's really interesting about Thailand is tattoos. Now, tattoos vary in price depending on where you get them. Phuket is synonymous with tattoo stores, tattoo shops, and because it's a foreign tourist area, tattoos are generally far more expensive than they are in other areas of the country. Depending on the size of your tattoo and depending on where you get your tattoo done, somebody who's local, who's not really in the city, is going to be far cheaper than somebody who's in the city, maybe in Koh San Road, where I got this one. This one here is maybe about 12 centimeters high. This cost me 4,000 baht, took about 2 hours to do in Koh San Road. A lot of foreigners love to go there just to hang out. I'm going to be doing a whole video on tattoos. Yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, you really pay for convenience, but if you know how to wing around and you know people here and you make friends with Thai locals, then yeah, your life can be a little bit cheaper and easier as well. I do recommend also checking out a website called nomadlist.io. When I was moving to Thailand, I used Nomadlist to figure out some of these costs. With that being said, thank you so much. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.